Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliot Raben, so get ready to get triggered. Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report's Season 6 premiere. I'm your host, Elliot Raben, and with me for the first time ever is my expert panel made up of Marshall, Daniel, and introducing Tamar. How are you all?
Good.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Very good. Sorry.
Now, even though we're not on Spirit Live, as per Spirit Live rules and regulations, all opinions expressed are not those of Ryerson or Ryerson faculty and are only those of the individual commentators. Viewer discretion is advised. So, before we get to our weekly news segment, because we have a lot to talk about, let's take a few minutes and let our viewers know about our new panelist, Tamar.
Hi, everybody. My name's Tamar. I'm in my fourth year of media production here at Ryerson. I'm very excited to be here. I feel like I'm pretty honest, have a lot of straight up opinions, so I'm very excited to add some diversity of thought here.
We always appreciate diversity. Yes.
Very glad to have you, Tamar. Thank you for coming on. So, we have, again, a lot of breaking news, but let's start with something that, Tamar, you have a lot of information on. Probably the biggest thing is the RSU, because it's been a time. We haven't really talked about that. So, Tamar, you're still on the RSU, right?
Yeah, I'm a director.
So, yes, you are. So, tell us what's going on with the whole situation with RAM for our viewers that don't know. There has been some mismanagement of funds, to say the least, of about $700,000, right?
Yeah, so
$700?
$700,000. Yeah. So I mean, the number itself, I'm not going to speak on just because a lot of things, everything pretty much has yet to be reconciled. So until everything's reconciled, like legally, I'm not going to say, is legit or is not. However, it's very concerning as a student. Who pays money to the Ryerson Students Union to know that money that I'm paying and that my peers are paying is going to, alcohol and clubs and events that I wasn't invited to.
Airbnbs,
Exactly.
Casino Rama.
Yeah.
What else did I see?
Yeah.
A bouncy castle, some like shit like that.
Yeah.
Popcorn machine.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, some of the stuff can be what's the word?
Excused?
Not excused. Like, you see a lot of money going to
allowed?
Cineplex. Yeah, and the Ryerson Student Union, the member services offices, we sell Cineplex tickets at a discounted rate.
Yeah.
So a lot of the purchases were totally legit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So the RSU helps subsidize and just give some opportunities for our students.
Exactly.
Hey, is there any other stuff that you can think of off the top of your head, like besides the movie tickets? I know they do maybe.
What you mean that was legit, or
yeah,
you mean
that's something that's legit. Yeah, I guess they do. They used to do Raptors tickets and stuff like that before. Right?
I don't think we do that.
There's a whole list. There's you
Yeah.
can go to Bloor Hot Dog Cinema and whatever.
Okay, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but regardless, just the statements were really shocking after seeing them. And we are, completing. Well, not completing. We're starting a forensic audit. I'm actually on the audit committee. So we're starting that in the next, I think right after reading week. And we shall see what was legit and what wasn't legit. So.
And that's expected to take a couple months, right?
Yeah, I think it'll take about 2 months.
Oh, okay. That's better than the numbers
hopefully
I've heard.
hopefully by the end of the semester we'll have some answers.
Good.
And from there we can see some legal action that will be taken. I think that a lot of students are really frustrated because they're not seeing a lot of full out action because things take time,
Yeah.
People think, oh yeah, well, I know he spent $2,000 on a bouncy castle. That's totally fraud and embezzlement. But at the same time, it might be obvious, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, one, we need to protect ourselves legally.
Yeah, you got to do your due diligence.
Yeah, we need to do our due diligence. We can't just say
because one mistake is just gonna it's just gonna blow up the case for him.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. So
He who shall not be named.
yeah, but I mean, at the same time, he's facing a lot of death threats and a lot of like really inappropriate comments from people making comments on his weight and appearance, and I think like people need to stop.
Yeah, there are some like
agree.
racist comments going on, and I think I forget if he was from Brampton or not, but some people were dissing him because of that as well. I don't know. But
I don't know. I haven't seen.
Like I totally understand getting like mad at him and like being angry for all the stuff that he did. But there's no need for us to put race in front of this whatsoever.
Sure.
Stuff like that. If it was a cisgendered white male that was the leader of the president and she was president, I 100% would be equally as mad. As if it was for Ram. So that's.
Of course.
Yeah. Like, it's the current year, guys. Come on.
But, I mean, I think also, like, the directors on the RCU and with our new president that we elected last week, we really are going to see some positive changes. And the folks are really holding everyone involved accountable.
Yeah, it's good to see McLean taking over. I like that lad. He's
it's a good move.
Good
Yeah,
guy. I think he can.
He genuinely cares.
He's in a good position to clean up the messes, to
it's a shame
to
like
put
2
out the
months,
fires, as I think he put it. And I hope to see things change for the better. And I'm optimistic that they will. Not that they could really get any worse. So,
Because like once you hit
the
rock
optimism
bottom, you
comes
can only
easy.
go up, right? So
Yeah. So let's then move forward, because that, we're going to see a lot more of that unraveling. We have the Rhino Party here at Ryerson that's been posting a lot of stuff.
they get in some flack though.
Yeah,
Well, they disrespected Dawn, or should we even say names or not?
Well, I mean, that was really terrible what happened. Like, she was literally just doing her job.
Yeah.
So to kind of attack someone,
and she's actually nice. She's really nice.
She's amazing.
She's great.
She's
so good.
For our viewers, who is this? Not necessarily the name, but who are they?
So the campus group coordinator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's the one that's in charge, meeting with I'm president of the Politics and Governance Student Association, so I've only gotten to know her over this past year and stuff like that. In the beginning, I used to think that she was very mean, I guess. But once I actually,
she's strict. She does her job well.
No, but that's a no bullshit lady and stuff like that, and you want to get her job, and so all I can do is respect that. So it's because we out here respecting women. So.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as someone who's a shit disturber myself, I can say like the Rhino Party is kind of I respect them in that sense, but also it's like, okay, like, know when to draw the line.
Exactly. No, you're totally.
I'm not sure what happened.
So at the meeting we had,
you were there, right?
Yes, I was there. At the meeting, they were not allowed in because we have a rule they were allowed in, but we have a rule that only campus media is allowed to be filming and like live tweeting or live streaming events. Board meetings. So that equals like the Eye Opener and the Ryersonian. However, the Rhino Party came in, set up their whole live stream, but they're not officially campus media. Like, they don't pay the levies that people pay to the Eye Opener and to Ryersonian and all that stuff. Right. So they basically can't film and live stream during our meetings. And they were not too happy about that when Dawn asked them to leave. And they just kind of made a big post, like, kind of shitting on her. It just wasn't so nice.
Yeah.
Good thing it wasn't the Eye Opener not allowed in, because they would have written a big, slander piece on Dawn.
Yeah, you have a lot of experience with that, eh?
I hate to dig up old bones, but
that's
and I won't. Won't.
But let's move on to another issue that's recent as well. If anybody watches the show Empire, Jussie Smollett is a familiar face. I can say I watch the show, and I do really appreciate him as an actor. He's very good. But what he did recently, or what's speculated that he's done, is that he's created a hoax.
Like a fake hate crime.
A fake hate crime.
It's ridiculous.
Now, I obviously don't want anything to happen to him per se. Like, if that actually happened, then, everybody should be appalled. You shouldn't, attack somebody. But if this is a hoax...
It's not an if anymore.
I mean, we still have to say that it's an if. But,
good.
I mean, I won't necessarily extend that courtesy, but generally, I would... suggest that people still use terms like if, but isn't it funny?
I don't know.
Isn't it funny?
It is.
This thing that was so obviously a hoax from the beginning, this thing that was like, in what universe is this realistic? Turns out to be a hoax. Come on.
Well, didn't they say the actual day that it happened? There was like a polar
There's a polar vortex. Yeah, it's like when the full moon makes the criminals come out. It's sometimes life is stranger than fiction, and this is just such a funny, bizarre, ironic situation.
Can't argue with that one.
Yeah, it's I don't know why people have to make up hoaxes nowadays. It's just like the truth is it feels like it's no longer an option, right?
I think it's irrelevant, to be honest. It's just how like
People don't care about the truth anymore.
no, like the idea of like how Ben Shapiro's quote, like facts don't care about your feelings, like it's reversed completely. It's like it's feelings that are more that have been prioritized instead of trying to maintain like a factual like narrative.
And
you know?
truly, feelings don't care about facts. And I
Yeah.
think that that's also something that's valid, is that feelings and facts are often
Oil
at
and
ends
water.
with each
Oil
other.
and water, yeah.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's just a true statement. And it's interesting with this Jussie Smollett case, how this guy can make up this situation and have the entire media rush to his aid to
What was the
propagate this
actual
situation.
So like he got some like two like Nigerian men or something
yeah,
like
they're
that.
brothers.
They're immigrants or something.
There's some sort of Nigerian brothers. I think they were extras on Empire.
Something like
I
that.
read something like that.
Okay.
But apparently he hired them to
fake beat him
fake
up.
the attack and say that it was all Trump's fault and MAGA and they attacked him because he's gay.
And,
And
sorry, do you
and
know
black.
the story, the original story?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
That's-
So
yeah,
the
that's
original
why I'm
story.
asking.
So let me paint a picture. Jussie Smollett is strolling through Chicago at 2 a.m., minding his own business, and he's accosted by two angry white men who say, "Aren't you that N-word faggot from Empire?" And he says, "By golly, yes I am." And they pin him to the ground and tie a noose around his neck. And don't let me forget that they're wearing Make America Great Again hats. And they pour an unknown substance, which he later suspected to be bleach, all over him and said, "This is MAGA country," and then left. And
That's
then
what it was?
he went home and called his agent and told his agent what happened. And then a couple hours later decides to call the police. And, you know, it's funny because this is Chicago. This is one of the most Democrat cities in the world. It is most certainly not MAGA country. I don't know. What a weird thing to make
MAGA
up.
country.
Yeah.
It's like those type of like enclaves are like Chicago. Like what other places like a Democrat like specific like Southern California,
St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah, yeah, but like yeah, you
Detroit.
don't expect that to happen there, you know. It's like yeah, like it's just bullshit. Like I don't know what else to talk about with
And
this
not
thing.
to say that hate crimes don't happen, but this is just such a...
If anything, that just like makes it just minimizes actual hate crimes when they happen.
and
Like
not
who's
even,
gonna
but-
believe someone now? Like if somebody important from like another show from another marginalized group and something actually happens to them, some people are gonna like be quick to second guess what they're gonna say because
And-
it's like how is this not gonna be another Jussie situation, right?
And tomorrow, you and I were actually talking about the same idea, but in terms of just sexual assault, right?
Trigger warning,
factual
just in
versus unfactual, and the issues that could arise from it, right?
Well, I think we were talking about it in a little bit of a different context.
Yeah, in a different context, but
Yeah.
just the topic came up, right? And so I think it relates
You mean
to
like
this.
in terms of like believing survivors is what you're saying?
Similar. Like I don't want to get into it,
Yeah.
but it's just the idea, the concept came up, and I think it relates to this in a sense, just because
Okay.
truth is important.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it really relates to this in the context we were speaking about, and I don't want to be vague about it because I don't want people thinking things that aren't correct. So just to give a little bit of background, Elliot and I were speaking about if someone were to come to me and tell me, give me over an experience that they went through. It doesn't matter to me whether or not, it's completely factual or what. Like, that does not matter to me. Like, someone is coming to me and, giving me their trust.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe them. I'm going to support them. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, whether details are like, I'm not a court of law. I'm not there to judge the situation. I'm there to support the person who
Yeah.
comes to me and seeks support.
Yeah.
So I'm not the one who's going to go and judge, the specifics about it, but for somebody to come to you and to be traumatized about something, like I'm going to
The amount of
support
courage
them.
it takes for someone to open
Exactly.
up about that kind of stuff, it's a very intimate, strong relationship building interaction that two people have when they open up about that stuff. Because I have a good friend of mine, and and it's like I appreciate it too, just because it was a guy friend, it was two guys. We were just it was guy talk, but it was not like that, not like locker room talk, but we were just saying we just talked about how mistakes I guess that we did before in secondary school, and how like we didn't actually get any proper like sex ed education and stuff like that. So it's like you don't like wait, instead of us trying to like figure out the solutions to those problems in the past, we only up until now we can start talking about this stuff. Because he was fully telling me how, like, obviously I'm gonna keep it anonymous, but it was like he was just saying how like some guy just like, you know, just grabbed him by the crotch and stuff like that. And it's just like even something as small as that and stuff like that, it's just like it has an everlasting effect on people.
Yeah, very traumatizing for sure.
Yeah, so I guess maybe it's not as closely related as I wanted to say, but let's just call it both very touchy subjects.
Yeah.
Let's just do that.
Is there anything else for?
Yeah, just the last one, which is the Amber Alert. The fact that there was an Amber Alert that went out, and
it was literally like less than a kilometer away from my house. Yeah.
Wow.
It was across the highway. Like I have my neighborhood, and there's the highway that splits it up, and then there's a dog park, and like the high school is right there, North Park. And in like Hanson Road, I think it was. Yeah, it was so close. It's just fucked up.
And it's shocking because about 40 people complained about getting the Amber Alert, which is
wait, it was only 40 people complained.
Like calling to police.
That complained that they were bothered in their sleep.
That's
right?
ridiculous. What time did it go off at? Like midnight.
Like 11:30.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. I think I was watching like New Girl, and then like I don't know, like, you know, was just relaxing. Shows up on my phone, and like I'm like what is this? Like, why am I getting this?
Yeah.
But you know, seeing about it afterwards, seeing that like I think it was the police who tweeted that the way that they found the individual and found the girl was a direct result of someone seeing the Amber Alert and calling in and locating her. So hearing about afterwards all the people who complained, it's like honestly
it actually worked. It worked.
Yeah.
It didn't work 100% because like she didn't survive, but it worked like in terms of like locating someone.
Yeah, but like honestly, like I'm so sorry that it disturbed your sleep. Like like to every single person who complained, like I'd rather have that girl alive than those people.
Yeah.
Like you're actually such assholes if that's what you believe.
They're total bitches.
It's like if you can be woken up and it can help find one missing child, is that not worth it? Like
it is worth it.
It is
exactly.
worth it.
Also,
it's always gonna be worth it.
Yeah, but also think about it. Like you guys got to wake up in the morning. This girl didn't.
Yeah.
So like,
and his mom, like the mom, like. The mom's traumatized. Is like she's never gonna recover from this. Like she'll be a little bit better, I guess, like long term, but it's never gonna be the same. So it's like
no, of course not.
And I saw I was on my Twitter. Like I've been trying to use Twitter a lot more, and like I saw some like bitch like tweeting about that stuff, and she was like, "Oh my god, I had to like put 3 of my boys to sleep and everything like that." I fully added Peel Regional Police, and I'm like, "Can you give her a ticket or something?" Or I'm like, "That's what I fully said."
Ticket for tweeting.
Yeah, no, a ticket for disturbing the peace. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, and to call 911 over it too, it's like you're wasting dispatcher resources.
Yeah, they have enough going on with trying to locate the girl. Don't flood their lines.
Terrible.
But 15 minutes into the show, let's move on to our main story, OSAP. Recently, the Ontario government made significant changes to the Ontario Student Assistance Program, which is a government program that aids students with post-secondary financing. Those changes include creating an opt-in, opt-out feature of paying non-essential services, dubbed ancillary costs, to universities, as well as eliminating free tuition and removing the 6-month grace period, interest-free grace period, rather, on repaying OSAP loans. Now, are these changes a good or bad thing? Today, we'll find out. Remember, we are live on Facebook, so you can comment on our feed to have your thoughts read live on air. So let's begin. I'm going to throw the first question to you, Tamar. You want to hear?
Pull up the poll, or are we doing that after?
Oh, this is true. Good point.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm going to throw the first question to you, which is, well, let's actually pull up the poll, and then I'll tell you the question.
Okay, cool.
So the poll results
mention what the poll is.
Yeah. So the question was, are you for or against the recent changes to OSAP in Ontario? And it was 39% are for the changes, 61% against.
Total number of votes?
15 people having voted for and 23 against, for a total of 38 votes.
Sorry.
Wow. Okay, so then, as you can see, it's... a lot of people don't like the changes.
Of course they wouldn't. What the hell?
Well, okay, I was just stating
Sorry.
facts.
Well,
I guess you're
it's
not a fan of truth either. But so, Tamar, let's start with you on this question. What is OSAP and how does it work?
Okay, so OSAP is basically I don't think I'm the best person to explain this because I actually never qualified for OSAP.
Okay.
But OSAP is essentially Ontario Student.
Assistance plan.
Yeah, maybe pass this question on to someone else.
So
Fair enough.
And
Yeah,
I'll
Marshall?
take on the
OSAP
next
is the
one.
Ontario Student Assistance Plan. It's the provincial portion of loans given to students in order for them to attend post-secondary education. It's a loan. It's got lower interest rates and slower increasing interest rates than other loans, than a loan from the bank might. So it's more friendly to somebody who is young or unemployed and doesn't have much experience with loans and such. And there are other forms of OSAP that come in grants, which you don't have to pay back. Mm-hmm. And it all depends on many things like how long you've been out of high school, how old you are, your parents' income. Those are the main things that determine how much you qualify for and how much of that will be grants, how much of that will be loans. The Kathleen Wynne government introduced a system by which anybody whose parents bring in under $50,000 a year does not get any loans but gets entirely grants from OSAP for their education. And so that was just recently repealed by the Ford government, along with the other changes
is
mentioned.
anyone here using OSAP at all? Or, no,
I use OSAP.
Yeah,
I mean,
you do?
I qualify for it.
I've never checked if I qualify for it, but
You should, because like
I don't think I do though.
Yeah,
Like, my
you-
parents' incomes are like
You might.
Yeah,
I
remember-
didn't think I qualified either.
true.
But so now that we know what OSAP is, let's actually talk about the changes. I mentioned them in our intro, but let's get deeper into that. Do you want to take that, Tamar? Is that
Yeah.
something you're interested in, the actual changes? And
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the changes, I think to a lot of people it seems positive. Personally, to myself, thinking about other people and thinking about just the wider scope of it, it's really not as great as the people, the PC government bringing it in is trying to make it seem. Making a lower budget for those non-repayable grants is not so helpful because a lot of the lower income people who once were, getting free tuition as of last year, and now they're having to pay, money that they never were paying before. It's not, so helpful to them. Another aspect of it that's pretty
Wait, so did they at least get like 1 year free then, or not? Like
I think it would have been this
continues
year
on until September.
Oh, okay.
until September.
But like after that, that's when they're gonna start paying.
The changes take effect.
Yeah. And I think also it was a 10% reduction in tuition overall, which in theory is great, but it's really only helping people who, like, at the end of the day, it's really only helping people who are paying full tuition anyway.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're the ones who, like, they weren't getting grants, they weren't getting OSAP. Also, the Ontario government lowered the overall amount they were giving towards OSAP as well. So people, whatever they were getting in, whether it be non-repayable grants or in loans, it's a much lower amount. And I don't think it's that helpful in the long run. Also, another change that they put in is allowing students to opt in or opt out of what's known as ancillary fees. So I know at Ryerson we have a lot of those. So some things such as the Ryerson Student Union, that's something that we have. That's an ancillary fee. The Good Food Center, the
Equity centers, the Trans Collective,
all the
that
equity
stuff.
centers, but not even just that. Even like the Eye Opener, our newspaper, those are considered.
Ryerson doesn't count because it's graduate.
I don't think so because that's an actual. It's part of the program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but just not being able to have those, to be able to opt out of those.
Yeah. But pretty much like any like social, not like I don't like. I guess I can call them like social services. That
Yeah, like
Ryerson
student
provides.
life.
Yeah, like student life stuff. That's all going to be negatively affected and stuff like that. Like for me personally, like as president of Pogsense, like I don't try to flex that at all. I'm being honest, but like, like when we had a meeting like with all of the presidents that were at for the RSU, like this was like probably like a couple weeks before all of that shit went down, right? They were just very scared about these new propositions because like that would just mean that like in terms of like the budget that they're gonna give us, that would mean less money for our budget. So like we would get like $500 every semester, I think, But like if this is gonna happen, like some cuts are gonna be made. So it's like maybe that's gonna turn into like $300 a semester or something like that. And like I don't know, it's like.
But you're not even guaranteed that, right?
Yeah.
Because students have the option to opt in. So, like, let's say I opt
Yeah,
in.
but that's what I'm saying. It could be like at minimum, like it could be just a small reduction, and a like worst case scenario, like just course unions are gonna have to be completely self-sufficient. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if it's just people are not gonna be like, are gonna take a while to get used to those changes, you know?
And we also have yet to see which fees will be optional and which fees will remain
We still have
mandatory.
okay, yeah.
We still don't know the full extent of that. And we have a couple comments that some of which I didn't read earlier, but were related to the Justice Smollett situation from our friend Sam, who says, Chicago, Trump country, obviously. He says, the media loves sensationalism. I don't think it goes much deeper than that. The only difference now is that the victim group has changed. I agree with that. And our friend Gemma says, you could take out a private loan, so I don't see it as that big of a deal, which is totally fair.
It's a good point. Because I have a friend of mine like I used to work with in the summer, like during that moving company. It was like he just talked about like he literally just has like a line of credit for like $10K and stuff like that, and he just uses the line of credit, keeps paying as much as he can just for school and for work and like for other stuff that he needs.
And
so
you know,
it's a very doable
different
thing to
solutions
do.
for different circumstances.
Yeah.
Like a private loan may not be the best thing for everybody, but OSAP also may not be the best thing for everybody.
Like OSAP is probably better for those lower income students and stuff like that, and for someone who has a little bit of money, maybe opening up that line of credit is a good option for them.
And the thing, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like this whole situation, whether or not you feel it's good or bad, is also like rooted in if you believe that fundamentally a post-secondary education is a right versus it's a privilege.
It's a good point.
It is.
Like, I think that depending on how you view that,
Yeah.
that's how you'd see it. Because, like, personally for me, I believe everyone should have access to post-secondary education because, you know, that breaks the cycle of poverty. You know, it goes deeper and deeper.
Right.
But I think that, so in that case, I do believe that, you know, that the government should be subsidizing it. But for somebody who doesn't believe that it's a right, for someone that believes that it is a privilege, of course they're going to say, no, like, I can afford it. I worked hard. I want to, you know, like, I want to have access to a better job than people who don't work as hard.
But see, I like to think that of it as like it was like the world has been completely different from how it was before. Like maybe like the baby boomers or even before that time, like when they were growing up, like in that like 40s to 60s, like 70s era, I guess. Like people could literally work a couple jobs and stuff like that, and they could buy a house. They could pay off a mortgage. They could go to school. They could send their kids to college too on these like okay doing jobs that like they don't pay that well. You can't do that shit now.
No.
Like, at all. You can barely like have enough to like eat, sleep, and like the bare necessities and stuff like that. So that's why like maybe I did wince at the idea of it being a right or being it a privilege and stuff like that. Because the problem with it being a right is like my only issue is because a university has become the new high school in terms of the standard of what people need to get a good paying job or at least an entry level position, even if you're just going to work in an office or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's if literally everyone's going to get the opportunity to go to the education and stuff like that, we're just going to keep devaluing the value of the degree, right? And then like it's going to make everyone have to go even more school, school and more school like that.
And you know,
that in turn what makes more debt. It's like
absolutely. I very much don't believe that education is a right. I do see it as a privilege, and I think the accessibility of education is proliferating this.
Everybody should have the ability to access it. That's what I'm saying.
Sure, and as Sam just said, everybody can access it. You just have to pay. But I don't like this proliferation of the fact that university has become the new normal. I don't think that's right at all. I don't think that we should be empowering corporations to be saying, yeah, you need a university degree to be a secretary. There's nothing wrong with being a secretary. That's a fine vocation. But you certainly do not need, or you shouldn't need, a university degree to be a secretary. You shouldn't need a university degree to be a police officer. But you do. Because as Canada is the most educated country in the world, university is becoming, that is a fact. University is becoming the new high school, and that simply shouldn't be the case. University serves a specific purpose, and if we continue to...
It's not serving the purpose that Tamar said about like lifting people out of poverty.
It's not, because then you just have to pay into the system in order to get more basic jobs, and it's eventually going to get to the point, maybe this is a bit hyperbolic, but I can honestly see the day when you're going to need a university degree to be at McDonald's. Because really, if you need a university degree to be a secretary, why not McDonald's or Burger King? Or maybe just Wendy's. If
I think it might also.
Wendy's is a high class institution.
It might also depend though on the university, right? Like Ryerson is much more high schooly than say U of T, I would say, just because we're like central downtown campus. We're not like a real university campus, I would say.
We're pretty much a real university.
No, like I mean,
We're
the typical.
we're not
typical.
I
You know
don't-
what I mean?
We're globally recognized.
Yeah.
We literally, the DMZ is like the best thing in the world that we have.
For
Yeah.
sure,
Like
right?
there's certain things. Like obviously, like our school is failing in certain aspects, but like our school is also doing very well in some.
We're a
Yeah,
much more
totally.
modern take, I would say, on a typical university
Well, we're a
Yeah,
university
idea.
with the college, I guess, like college type
Base,
courses
yeah.
where we're very hands on. But I don't think that's a negative thing at all.
No, I'm not saying it's a negative thing. I'm just saying it depends, like, on the university how high schooly you get, right?
And yet, it still charges the same tuition as any other school, more or less.
Yeah. But I just want to go back to the ancillary fees because even this show is funded by these ancillary fees. You know, if this opt-in, opt-out feature is applied and Spirit Live isn't considered a necessity or a necessary cost, then
Yeah, if they,
there goes Spirit Live, there goes Ravenport, there goes, you know.
there goes Baywatch, all that.
So
Yeah.
I'm not an austerity cheerleader. I don't like the cuts in general as a concept, but the student choice initiative is something that I support to some extent. I think it needs to be implemented well, or else it could go really poorly.
Student choice. How is it? What?
It's
Like
that's
the
what it's
opt-in,
called.
opt-out.
Opt-in,
They're calling
opt-out
it? Okay.
choices.
I'm more than happy to not fund certain things, but there are things that I will fund. But there are also things that I know people won't fund, and I think that does create a problem. I think there are a lot of things on campus that are funded by student fees that provide a lot of great opportunities for people going forward from university, like
And-
this.
Yeah.
And the big thing is whether it's an opt-in or an opt-out feature, because, for example, the Ryerson dental plan, you have to opt out of that. That's
Yeah.
already put in. So if most stuff is opt-out, then there's still a chance for the money to be saved. You know, students forget, or they're like,
Because
okay, I already paid.
People don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's ignorance.
So, and that
So we don't know
unfortunately
if
could
it's gonna
play
be-
well
it-
into keeping
They
money for
haven't
the
said
school.
whether or not
Yeah.
it's going to be opt-in or opt-out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I think there
that's-
should be less things than more things that are optional.
But I think that the university does get to decide what is considered
Essential.
an essential service, and I believe that they'll say that health and dental is.
They will.
For sure.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
bring
even
that
the-
up
even
as
the
an
government has said
example.
that.
Yeah.
The government has said basically anything relating to like
Safety
health,
and health.
safety, food, that kind of thing is all going to be mandatory.
Oh, so like
gyms
so
will
the
remain
Good Food Center
mandatory.
is going to be like
Yeah.
most likely.
But
not
I don't know
touched.
that necessarily because the Good Food Center is run through the Ryerson Students Union. That is,
Right.
we budget, and I guess I'm a little bit biased in this situation because I am a director on the Ryerson Student
Yeah.
Union. But like that money, we budget for that every single year, right? And I don't know how much exactly it is that goes to the Good Food Center, but I can tell you that, you know, like every month we have over 800 people coming and
Yeah.
using that service.
Well, like, what I'm saying is like if a bunch of people like opt out of that, and let's say like they specifically, I'm like, hey, I want to opt out of like giving Ryerson as much money than I need to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, that way by extension is like
It's gonna affect that.
You're not going to be able to help all of those 800
Exactly.
people.
Yeah, that's
so-
what I'm saying. It's that's why I'm saying it becomes problematic in senses like that.
Yeah.
Also like SASL, sexual assault support line.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause
those
we
services.
we just implemented that, right?
Right, that well,
Like
it
last
existed
year-ish?
before, but we
we had the
implemented a certain amount of
referendum.
funding. Yeah. So just certain services like that are totally essential that people are using and benefiting from.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna really affect the way that they're run. And it's a little bit upsetting and a little bit nerve-wracking to see, you know, like there's and not even just those services, like the student union in general. Like Ryerson, I know for myself when I chose to come here, it's a commuter campus, but I'm on campus all day long. Like I'm here from 10 o'clock in the morning till midnight some
Yeah.
days. Student life was a huge part of why I chose to come here 4 years ago. And you know, understanding that now, like the Ryerson Students Union, they're the ones who run all this. You know, you said you're a society, you're president of a student society. You know, you're very involved. I know, you know, Marshall, you're involved. I've been involved in different clubs throughout the years that I've been here, and to know that other students like coming forward are not necessarily going to get the same experience is a little bit, you know.
It's just shitty for like all the people in high school right now.
Yeah.
Grade 11s and 12s who like had like a really like like a concrete idea. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to this school for this, this, and this, and it's like, oh,
Imagine those campus tours now.
yeah. Imagine like less people to do campus tours and stuff like that. Or think about all the jobs that Ryerson provides to students specifically through the SLC, giving people tours and
Those
stuff
are
like
all
that.
considered ancillary fees, like
Yeah,
career
100
boost and all those things.
Oh, 100%.
Totally.
And that's why I think it needs to be done really carefully, and I don't want to see it imposed as a blanket measure. I think that it needs to be done as a, what do you call it? I suppose a blacklist method as opposed to a whitelist method. If you guys catch the reference.
Yeah, no, not really.
Yeah, I
That means
guess.
nothing to me.
A whitelist method would be like you. Oops, the feed looks like it. No, never mind. We're all good. A whitelist method would be where you cut out everything and then approve certain things, whereas a blacklist method would be where you cut out nothing and then make certain things optional. If that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just so do you guys feel that the Ford government is just going to say, okay, we're doing it this way, or are they actually going to take the time to figure out and do it carefully?
No, they've never done that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They literally they literally destroyed that what was it called? Give me a second while I figure it out. The project, the pilot project for universal basic income in a couple towns in Ontario. They completely it just vanished out of thin air immediately and stuff like that. No consultation from the people whatsoever and stuff like that. And regardless of someone's opinion of like UBI or like whatever, it's just like when people when something like that, when they were promised something like that, and then you just take it away from them like that, it's pretty shitty. It's just like the new autism stuff that they're proposing. Like, even if they are proposing more money to give to these, for all of these parents that have a child suffering from ASD, it's still not enough. Like, they're gonna give them like $10,000 a year and stuff like that.
But it's an improvement.
It is an improvement, I guess.
And I'm not sure why are there protests over this.
I think it's a matter of
people just don't like things when Doug Ford does them. This is an improvement on the autism program. This is age-based funding, which there's nothing wrong with. Younger kids need more funding.
See, well, I'm gonna
I think the idea between UBI is like separate, and then what I was saying about like the autism stuff is like different. But I don't think people should be that mad at the autism stuff though. But I do think people should be mad at the UBI.
Well, see, with
stuff.
the autism stuff, it's a very specific thing because I read into it, and it's a matter of the amount of money people are getting rather than that. Like Marshall, I'll agree with you there that basically anything Doug Ford does, it's a problem, which has happened. But the autism thing, apparently, from what I read, they're getting money, but it's not as much as they would have. As they need to support their kids.
But I'll agree with that just because like the PC government proposed more money than the Liberals did.
Like they proposed more money for mental health than any other government, for example.
I'm saying specifically for ASD.
autism.
They proposed more than what the Liberals were going to give if they were elected.
And so that's
why
exactly
I'm
what
not
I'm saying. What's the
start
problem? So
complaining
it's an
about it.
improvement. It's a step up if you're looking to improve autism support. It's a step up regardless, right?
Hey, we have to make it's baby steps.
And
we got to do that.
You have to make baby steps, especially when you've got a government that's trying to get the financial situation under control, trying to balance the books. You can't just be throwing money at problems all the time.
Yeah.
You have to incrementally address things and then see, does it work? And then if it does work, maybe we can throw some more money at it.
And the question is the Ford government really doing that? Like, are they really, taking step by step, or are they just blanketing every issue like for example, the OSAP that we're mentioning?
I think the problem was that Christina, whatever her name is, not Freeland, but Summer, I don't know. But she's
Chrystia Freeland? Like that's the foreign affairs minister.
No.
You mean the education minister?
Yeah, she's the minister that was in charge of like all of this ASD money and stuff like that. What's her name?
Lisa McLeod?
Lisa McLeod, there we go.
No, is it Christine Elliott?
Christine Elliott's the deputy.
She's the
leader.
long-term health.
I thought that's Lisa McLeod, or she's education.
I don't know.
Education.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
Regardless, like whatever
whatever
cabinet member that's in charge of like implementing these new changes to the ASDs, it's like I think the reason why people were mad is because she said if these groups don't like if
that was Lisa McLeod.
Yeah, so if these autism groups don't approve what the PC government is doing, there was some quote is like, oh, it's going to be 4 long years or something. Or I don't know. I think that's why people were mad, but not necessarily because they're getting more money. But like, if they need a lot more money because like the average cost to take care of a child with that is like almost $150K annually and stuff like that. Who the fuck has that kind of money to take care of someone with a condition like that?
It's a lot. I read that it's about like $5,000 for a month's worth of treatment of a child. So
yeah, it's
a big issue. But
it goes back into the idea of like the government giving money out to people in marginalized communities and stuff like that. So for this, it's like it's children suffering from ASD, and for us right now, it's low income families and low income students.
So that obviously that ties in with OSAP just because it's a matter of how people think funding should be done, whether it
it's all
should be
about balancing
government
the budget,
funding
too.
or whether it should be private. And yeah, that's the thing. Like the conservatives are very pro balancing the budget, but their means are not necessarily the best, right? So, where do we go from here? What's the getting back on track to OSAP? What's the future of OSAP? Like they, as much as I would have loved for some people to get free tuition, like that's, it's bordering a little bit of socialism, but not too much, right? But as much as it would be great for people to be able to afford it that couldn't, according to I think it was the Auditor General or somebody in the financial sect of the government that said it wouldn't be able to be sustained. Like it would cost $2 billion in the long run. So what is the future?
The future is we can't like OSAP shouldn't be focused primarily on getting people to have university degrees. Oh, hello, sorry, but there are so many more options that there are than just specifically going to university. Like you can go to college and stuff like that. You can go to trade and stuff like that. And I think the problem is there's a culture right now in Ontario and by extension in Canada that you have to go to university,
Yeah,
You
I think college, trade school, direct
They're great
entry into the
options and stuff like
workforce,
that.
and entrepreneurship should all be much more heavily
And
encouraged.
the
Well,
fact
you think
yeah.
that they should be, but I mean, you guys are both in your 4th year, right?
Yeah.
You're probably starting your job search just like I am.
Yeah.
Have you seen any job that didn't say you required a
And that's
post-secondary
exactly the
degree?
problem, is that we're
But that you
encouraging...
can say it's a problem, but it's still a fact.
Yeah, no, it is, and that we shouldn't
Like
be
it's not
encouraging
changing
that.
anytime soon.
But we shouldn't. It's not about what we can do today or tomorrow. It's about an ideal to strive for.
Right,
And
but it's
should
an
we
ideal,
be
but-
encouraging companies to require a university degree for everything, just forcing people to go to university? And what happens when everybody's in university? A university degree means nothing, and they're all going to have to get their master's
their
degrees and their
PhD,
doctorates.
yeah, everything.
And
Well, in certain subjects, I think that's actually kind of already the case.
yeah,
you know what
of
I mean?
course, and that's become a problem. There are certain degrees, and I mean, even my degree and Daniel's degree
Yeah.
is one of them, where a degree in political science is not going to get you much. You have to supplement it,
Yeah.
and that shouldn't be the case. You should be able to
Yeah,
do
I'm gonna
something
have to
with
add a
degree in
couple
political
minors, or
science.
I'm gonna have to do go to college and do a graduate diploma or certificate of some sort, or I'm gonna have to you got to go to law school or something like that. It's ridiculous.
And that's
It's
a direct result of forcing people into university
Yeah.
and saying, university is for the smart kids and
if it were
college
up
is
to
for
me,
the dumb kids.
If it were
And
up to,
that's
yeah.
a very that is a very conservative old kind of mentality
Yeah.
that
Which
like
one?
conservative or no sorry that university is the way, right? Like
Yeah, sure.
that's how I was raised, right?
Yeah.
Like you finish high school, you go to university, and then for example me, like I came to university and I find out like, whoa, this person took a gap year, or this person's back in university after 20 years, or so
And I don't blame any parents for raising their kids that
Oh,
way.
for sure,
because
no.
That's just how the culture has become.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's true. It's funny, thinking about, when I went into media production, first of all, the fact that I was doing a Bachelor of Arts was, unheard of. Like, everyone, I went to a private Jewish school growing up, and most of the girls in my class, they were going into pre-med or going into
STEM,
law.
yeah, something
Yeah,
like
and it's
that.
it was so unheard of that I was going into an arts program, let alone, a radio and television arts program. So I hear where that's coming from, but at the same time, I kind of feel like, yes, that, we can talk about the theoretics of how bad it is that you're expected to have your undergrad degree, but at the end of the day, that's the reality. Is in order to get a job this day and age, you need to have an undergrad degree. In order to get a very good paying job.
Yeah, we know what.
and
you mean.
that's
Yeah.
and now that I think about it, like it I do appreciate the idea of going to university on your side. And the thing is, on Marshall's side as well, though, sometimes I'll be looking for gigs on Indeed, right? And it'll say, photographer wanted, 2 years, like a bachelor's degree and then 2 years of experience. So many people learn this craft without university, right? Same thing with the secretary. So I think
I literally
it
could have read
depends-
all the books that I have in my courses, just bought them. That's it.
Yeah,
It's
with how our profs teach us, that would have been better, honestly.
yeah, it's true.
But again, I do appreciate university,
Good singer.
especially Ryerson, just because of the amount of hands-on experience I get, like with this show. Like if it weren't for this, then I would have never had this experience, right?
Yeah, and you can put that on your resume.
Right?
Does this count as something to put on a resume? That
100%.
That I know how to work.
It's on my resume.
It's on my
100%.
resume.
Not only that, if you wanted to go and work at a radio like Chum FM or for
Shit.
Bell Media or something, like totally this counts as experience. How many you've been doing this for? What, almost 3 years?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
I
season
totally didn't
6.
think
Hello,
about that.
yeah.
It's always been on my resume.
Like
Yeah.
when I typed in season 6 onto the graphic, it was just the weirdest thing to see that it's,
It's been this long.
No, but I mean, you guys could put that on your resume for sure as experience. But I'm saying specifically for Elliot, it looks great on him because he's in this actual field, right?
Yeah, and
In
he's
media production.
literally like helping, teaching like other people how to do this stuff.
Yeah,
too. So
but
it's like,
honestly, like that would be included when he's applying. Must have a university degree in journalism, media production, and 2 years of experience. Like he's got it. But not everyone gets that. And going
Yeah.
back to the whole OSAP thing, and the Student Choice Initiative, if this is scratched, then people don't get that. People
Yeah.
don't get that extra experience.
it's just gonna make us. It's just gonna make it a lot harder for us to go where we want to be in the future.
And I think that the government's like whole mentality or what they were trying to say was that they're trying to help the students. They're trying to help them afford education. But I think that they kind of like what they were trying to do and what they are doing aren't adding up.
Yeah.
And I think
right
that they
about
need to
that.
find a way to, kind of meet in the middle and find the equation to make it add up. So.
I agree. I think meeting in the middle on that regard is really important, and I don't want to see things like Spirit Live go away. Sam had a comment that was no one goes to Ryerson for the student life, which I completely disagree with.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
really
yeah.
enjoyed my
Does Sam
time-
go to Ryerson?
He does, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
He's so
he is
Don't even
involved.
go here.
And he is involved in student life, ironically.
Well,
And-
no, it could be like you're not specifically coming for the
Sure,
student life,
sure,
and
yeah.
then you're here, so you might as well get involved.
Yeah.
I think for me, if do I go to Ryerson for the student life? Is that the reason why I went to Ryerson? No, of course not. But it's a huge part of why
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
continue
you chose
to
it.
stay here. I think the student life is really important for preserving the young students' sanity.
Yeah, the morale, all that.
And I do think it's really important. And I don't want to see it, go away. But
It's like
there are things that I really want to see defunded. I would really love to see the CFS defunded entirely if possible.
Speaking of which, one of Olsen Crow, I think, was at York.
I saw, yes.
Helping
yeah,
another
they're
candidate.
I think what's their position or something? They're like some
I just know they're probably pro CFS.
No. I'm saying like they have an actual job at CFS, and it's something specifically about being trans or something like
Oh,
that. I don't
I'm
know.
not sure
I've
what
seen
that
the
is.
actual position. I forgot.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's relevant at all.
No, because we were talking about CFS, so I was
Okay.
just
Yeah.
mentioning that.
No, you're thinking of YFS, which is the York
yeah,
Federation.
I don't
of
think this has
Students.
anything to do with.
Oh,
the
maybe
CFS.
maybe it's irrelevant.
Yeah, it just
Okay.
sounds similar because
Yeah.
YFS, CFS, but I know YFS just had their election last week.
And
Okay.
are
A few of
the
my friends
results?
actually ran.
Are the results in?
I believe that they are in. A few of my friends ran actually, but I'm not sure. They're-
Yeah, same.
Probably. I mean, I'm just gonna assume it's the same people who always win.
Yeah, me too.
They don't have online
unfortunately.
voting like we do at Ryerson.
Yeah.
So it makes there's the pros and cons of that, but it makes it a lot less accessible to certain students.
Yeah.
So I think that they have a lot less engagement because I don't know if you're running to class, like you're not gonna go sit. You have to vote literally in person, stand in line for 20 minutes. Like, sorry, I wouldn't
That's
vote.
gonna-
if I
Yeah,
was-
not having online voting is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
And,
I hear the arguments, and especially here at Ryerson, running in the election and seeing
Yeah.
the corruption that goes on because of the online votes. It's not the best. It makes it accessible in a certain way,
I
but
did hear some allegations that something was fucked up from the last election. That someone
mean,
was
people-
like stuffing tickets. Like, I don't
people always do it.
I don't know if there's any like I don't know if there's any validity in those claims though. So it's like
I can speak for myself. I
Yeah.
know I never forced anyone to vote for me. But I know like people from other slates that were running were literally stalking me with a camera, which is also not okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Like literally, like people were full like all day standing on floor above me, like literally with their phone, like just waiting for me to do something wrong. They picked the wrong girl because I'm like super like keener, super like I follow the rules. Like ask anyone who I'm friends with, like I stick to the rules. But regardless
That's actually
of that,
shitty. Like
yeah, that's
yeah.
kind of harassment.
It is.
It is.
the elections get vicious.
Yeah, they
it's ridiculous. So
But-
toxic.
But yeah, I mean, there's people. It's a matter of getting caught. People do it all the time,
Yeah,
and it doesn't make it okay.
Like
but-
I was considering it too because like we had like there's like Art Laughs is like a Ryerson Liberal Art Society. So it's like
Okay.
they had like a cocktail party pretty much like with all like the course unions to go and stuff, and like talking to a bunch of students that are there like in equivalent positions as myself, and like I was just talking about all the like stuff that I would want to do I guess for RSU and stuff like that. But the more I thought about it, it's like I think I would do a good job, like maybe even as an executive, fuck it, even as president, I think I could do it. But the idea of like just you, like what was your like you, all the harassment that happened to you that was because of a board of director?
No, that was when I was running in the election to be voted in as a director.
Oh, okay. But see, like, the fact that like that specifically happened to you as a director, like
well, I wasn't a director at the time.
okay,
yeah.
like what I'm saying is like for that particular
for that
position, and it's like it's just that's just like gonna be like I'm just gonna be on a magnifying glass like on like times 100 like, and I can't slip up, I can't say anything mean or anything like that whatsoever. It's like like it's I don't know if that's worth it though, to be honest. It's
no, it's you got to be squeaky
Very
clean.
cutthroat.
I literally have to like
I don't know. Look at the people who won this year. Like clearly, I mean, I guess I was naive at the beginning. I ran with all the folks who
I was naive as well. I voted for them.
I voted. Well, I didn't vote for all of them, but I voted for most of them.
Yeah.
And I was part of that slate. And it's disappointing to see because, when I think it's also like when you're running as a group, like it's very much the, oh, we're family, we're a team. And like you kind of overlook certain things.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have to be squeaky clean. Like everyone has, skeletons in the closet. But I think that if you genuinely like believe you can make a change and have a lot of good stuff to offer, like you should totally go for it. I mean, you don't really have the time now because you're graduating.
I think your social media probably has to be squeaky clean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So it's like, but like for me personally, it was just like, what was I going to think of?
About running?
No, not just about running, but I forgot. It's okay. Go back.
And now there was a vote to eliminate slates, and that didn't pass.
That's what I was going to say. That's what my proposition was to just to get rid of it.
And I'm pretty disappointed that didn't pass. I was actually under the impression for the longest time that it did. I think I erroneously said on this show last season that it did pass, but that's so sad that the opportunity was there to eliminate slates, which I think would eliminate so much of the toxicity.
That's the only reason why all this corruption happens. If you're going to force the RSU, a bunch of random people that don't know each other, to work together, and they're forced to work together, it makes it a lot harder for people to work together and corrupt and stuff like that.
Well,
if it was up to like if it was Marshall, myself, and Mark and stuff like that, and like that's another friend of ours. Like let's say we all were going to run together and stuff like that. Let's say I wanted to be that piece of shit, and I'm like, hey guys, let's start using that credit card for Airbnbs and to go to like strip clubs and stuff. Like it would be a lot more easier to try and convince Marshall and Mark because I'm their friend and stuff like that. Yeah. But if it's some random other person, I'm like, yo, you want to go see some titties and stuff and use it on the Ryerson credit card? It's like, it's not going to be like, sorry, I don't give a shit about my language anymore, to be honest, because like, I don't know if like it's too. I don't know. Like,
language kind of matters. So
can we not do that anymore with the language?
Do what?
Like foul.
Maybe
language?
tone it down a bit.
Yeah. Sorry, but like,
now that there's a woman on the show,
my bad.
Please don't speak like that. Thank you. Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, I think that I wasn't actually at that meeting when they voted on it. It was on a Friday night, so I couldn't be there due to religious constraints. But it was. I hear both sides of the argument. I think that on one hand, you have a lot more access when you are running as a team with a slate. You have access to more funding, and you can. I know, like the RSU, I think they give you. I think it's like I don't know the exact amount. I think it's like 300 per director and 500 per. I'm totally making that up. I don't know the exact number. Right. But when you're a team, you can pool all that money together, and then at the end of reconcile that afterwards. If you're running as an individual, which is actually ironic because I know that McLean ran as a. What's it called? Independent, and now he's the president. So it's actually kind of ironic, but like it's very difficult to win if you're not running with a slate and having all this financial backing and having the team behind you. So I do think like if you look at the Engineering Society, a lot of my friends are on the board there now. And they eliminated slates, and it's been running perfectly. They're running great initiatives, great programs. And
that's how it should be.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I totally agree. I think that people have a lot of ulterior motives, and especially when they want to get into student politics, and it's unfortunate. And I know for myself, like I'm not looking to be in a career of politics. Like that's not where I'm going with this. So I think for myself, like at this point, I can be very objective when it comes to the student union. But there's a lot of people, who are planning to go to law school and planning on becoming, politicians. So for them, like this is for their resume, and they are making these alliances, and unfortunately don't have the students' best interest.
It's true.
I think it's going to be tough if slates are eliminated. What constitutes a slate, and how do you prevent like informal slates?
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
If I was gonna make some propositions, at least it would be like a slate cannot exceed like a maximum number of like 2 or 3 candidates or something like that. Or I don't know how to properly do it, but like Yeah, it'd be weird because like you can have like an unofficial swing.
Because
like,
you could just
everyone
have
knows
like
that,
a vague association.
Yeah.
with
Yeah, because
the
people
five
just
people.
assume if you're friends, you know.
Yeah,
it's-
exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that the motion that was actually proposed at the meeting that you're speaking about, I think it was just not to have, I believe it was director slates were not allowed, or the opposite. But I'm pretty sure it was it was the director slates were not allowed because the directors are really the ones that are governing the executive committee.
True.
Yeah, technically, if we're you know speaking about it honestly, this year obviously that wasn't really happening. We were kept in the dark for a lot of it. But yeah, that's
But despite that, the directors were the ones who held the executive. to
yeah,
account.
once we were finally, you know, shown the light and were, you know, found out about the stuff.
Okay,
but-
but so so you know the bylaws like very well, I guess, to some degree, or kinda a little bit.
I know them. I wouldn't say I'm like an expert in them, but
Yeah.
if you have a question, yeah, I'm happy to
No,
answer.
like what I'm saying is like, do you think that do you think everything needs to be rewritten with all of this bullshit that happened?
Oh, 100%. I don't think everything needs to be rewritten. I think that a lot of our bylaws, unfortunately, are a little bit vague.
Yeah.
And so, like, for example...
I was talking with someone else, and I asked him, and he's like, no, the bylaws are strong, and I'm like, no, clearly they're
They
not.
are strong.
I don't.
Our financial policy, I think, is very strong. I know that last year it was revisited, I think, or it was
Okay.
created last year. I'm not too sure about that. I think that they're pretty strong. I think that we really need to work on it and make it a lot. Not on that aspect. Certain other aspects, like where there's a lot of room for guessing and for.
So you're saying there's a lot of room for improvement, then, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
But definitely.
True.
Yeah, the whole thing is that this wouldn't have happened. Like these people that broke that had the credit cards were already breaking the bylaws.
Yeah.
So I don't think it mattered what the bylaws were because at the end of the day
They were gonna break them
they didn't
regardless.
have any regard for them anyway.
Yeah.
And
So-
it's really funny how the GM was fired on
Yep.
day one, and that didn't raise any red flags for
Anybody, yeah.
anybody, or notably at least, because I didn't even hear about that happening.
I mean, it was reported in the eye opener, but I mean, you know,
Yeah, well, I mean, you know,
yeah, you're
it's
not
the
their
eye
biggest
opener.
fan. So.
It's the eye opener. I don't acknowledge their existence. But,
Okay, well,
you know, it's funny how that wasn't an outrage, how that wasn't all over social
well, I
media.
mean, I
wasn't
think
all
that
over
the way that they were the way that they were reconciling that was saying that they were hiring a HR person. So
Yes, okay. And see, this does all sound vaguely familiar, but
yeah,
at the same time, it's like, you know, that never rang alarm bells for me. I'll admit it. I didn't see it as a concern because I didn't know what the GM did.
yeah.
So, just to get back on track with 5 minutes left on our on our main topic, OSAP.
I mean, it's all related though because
It is,
It's all student.
but that's why, like, you know, with this controversy and with the potential for keeping slates, like, personally, that deters me from wanting the money to go to the RSU by itself. Like, I like what it funds, but do I really want the RSU, like board of directors stuff like that? Is there a way for that to be, you know, kind of abolished and just for a couple? I don't know, because
what do you
it
want
feels like
abolished? Slates things? What?
just slates and just this huge, you know.
Well, it's an organization.
That's the
Well,
thing.
That's how organizations run. Not just a student union. Any organization has, you know, an executive committee.
For
board of
sure. I just
directors.
think, you know, perhaps it shouldn't be necessarily students. It should be like a staff that actually, you know, make sure that money goes to the food bank and to the sexual assault survivors line. Like,
So you don't think the students that are in charge? Should
I
be in
really
charge of
personally,
that?
I don't know why students should be, you know, be paid for this.
Because
like
at the end
in-
of the day, it is a union, and a union does, by virtue of it being a union, need to be made up of the people it intends to represent. And while I certainly don't agree with the concept of unions, really, but it is tough because you can't just staff it with non-students because that defeats the purpose.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
going to serve they're not going to serve our needs if everything goes accordingly.
I mean, so far they haven't really served our needs to
Well, I
begin
mean, I
with.
think
Is
you're
the
That's why
issue.
I'm saying when it goes accordingly, right?
I think you're also, you're basing it off of the recent events.
Yeah.
Well, no,
And I think
because
that-
even last year, the whole, you know,
No. I'd rather have like what was the other team like 2 years ago? And stuff
Elevate.
like- I'd rather have them than this year. Like what
I
was going on.
I just
It was just
not
like
a fan of either.
Situation from when
Yeah, I
Sick.
mean,
I don't know, like-
these like financial scandals, like they're all terrible when they happen.
Yeah.
But I honestly think like to say that you don't like, I get it, like you don't trust certain people, but like at the end of the day, you're given a budget of however much it is, like $3 million. You're 25 years old, like you know, you get power hungry and it gets to your head.
Like that year with Elevate that was in charge, like everyone hates them, I guess, because like they were like maybe a bit too left for some people, like even for people that were moderate, but they did so much. Like they were the people that were giving in all of this money to like the Good Food
they worked
Center.
really hard.
They
with
created
the
all
Equity
of these
Center.
initiatives and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's like they like shit on them all you want for like their views and stuff like that, but they made genuine help to help Ryerson students.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm getting to know a lot of the folks that ran that were part of that slate, and they're amazing and they do amazing work. And we don't have to agree on all the same politics, but they genuinely care about the students, and that is the most
That's what this
important
should be
thing.
about.
Yeah, I mean, to
And-
give credit where credit was due, there was no corruptness, at least in what we can see, and that is important, and that's something we take for granted.
Yeah,
the
we
lack
take
of,
it for granted.
of corruptness.
And you're obviously never going to get rid
Corruption.
of corruption, but hopefully good people will shine through, and hopefully it'll the
Yeah.
RSU will be run by good people. But that was our show for this week. Thank you to everyone that tuned in and that messaged us live. A brand new episode of the Raben Report will be coming to you next week. Thank you, Tamar, for joining the show. How'd you find your first episode, real quick?
Yeah, it was my first episode. I don't know.
Awesome. Good start. So we'll be back next week. Same day, same time, same people. Have a great day, everyone.